The stages before an awakening. How to know if you're experiencing a spiritual awakening. Spiritual awakening rarely arrive as a single lightning bolt moment. They unfold, they build, they whisper before they roar. Most people don't even realize they're awakening until they look back and think, wow, everything in my life was preparing me for this. If you've been feeling different lately, more sensitive, more aware, more restless, more curious, there's a good chance you're already in the early stages of awakening. Below is a deep dive into the phases that come before the awakening fully blooms, and the signs that you're stepping into a higher level of consciousness. 1. The restlessness phase, when your soul starts knocking. Before an awakening, life starts to feel off. Not broken, not terrible, just misaligned. You may feel a quiet dissatisfaction with your routine, a sense that something is missing, a desire for more, even if you can't name what more is. A strange inner pull toward change. This is your soul tapping you on the shoulder saying, wake up. There's more to you than this. You might notice, old habits no longer feel good. Old friendships feel shallow. Old dreams don't excite you anymore. This is the soul's first whisper. 2. The cracking phase, when life forces you to look within. If you ignore the whisper, life gets louder. This is when people experience breakdowns, breakthroughs, sudden endings, emotional waves, identity confusion, a feeling of, who am I becoming? This phase isn't punishment, it's purification. Your old identity begins to crack so your true self can breathe. You may feel like you're losing control, but in reality, you're losing what was controlling you. Common signs. You cry more easily. You feel everything intensely. You question your beliefs. You feel disconnected from your old self. This is the soul's second knock. 3. The awakening trigger, the moment something shifts. Every awakening has a catalyst. It might be a heartbreak, a loss, a new love, a book, a meditation, a conversation, a moment of silence, a sudden realization. It doesn't matter what the trigger is. What matters is the shift. You suddenly see life differently. You suddenly see yourself differently. You suddenly feel like you've been asleep for years. This is the soul's doorway. 4. The awareness phase, when you start seeing through the illusion. This is where things get interesting. You begin to notice patterns, energies, synchronicities, repeating numbers, intuition getting louder, people's true intentions, your own limiting beliefs. You start to understand that life is not random. Everything is connected. Everything is energy. Everything is communication. You begin to feel guided, protected, and aligned. This is the soul's voice. 5. The shedding phase, when you release what no longer matches your frequency. Awakening requires space, so life begins clearing out anything that can't come with you. Old relationships, old habits, old versions of you, old wounds, old fears, old environments. This phase can feel lonely, but it's sacred. You're not losing people, you're losing illusions, you're losing limitations, you're losing the weight that kept you small. This is the soul's cleansing. 6. The rebirth phase, when you step into your higher self. This is where the awakening becomes undeniable. You feel more peaceful, more intuitive, more aligned, more present, more connected to your purpose, more aware of your energy, more in tune with the universe. You begin to trust life. You begin to trust yourself. You begin to trust the timing of everything. This is the soul's expansion. How to know if you're experiencing a spiritual awakening. Here are the clearest signs. 1. You feel different, but can't explain why. Your inner world is shifting faster than your outer world. 2. You're more sensitive to energy. Crowds, noise, negativity, and chaos feel heavier than before. 3. You're questioning everything. Your beliefs, your patterns, your relationships, your purpose. 4. You feel pulled toward solitude. Not loneliness, just peace. 5. You're noticing synchronicities. 111, 222, 333, repeating signs, meaningful coincidences. 6. Your intuition is louder. You just know things without knowing how. 7. You feel a deep desire to heal. Old wounds rise to the surface so they can finally be released. 8. You feel like you're shedding your old self. You're not who you used to be, and you're not who you're becoming yet. 9. You feel guided by signs, dreams, inner nudges, or a quiet sense of direction. 10. You feel closer to your soul. You're remembering who you truly are. Final thoughts. Awakening isn't something you chase, it's something you allow. A spiritual awakening is not a destination. It's a return, a remembering, a homecoming. If you're reading this and thinking, this is exactly what I'm going through, then you're already awakening. Your soul is calling you back to yourself, and you're finally listening. You're not losing your mind. You're losing your limitations. You're not breaking down. You're breaking open. And the version of you on the other side is more powerful, more peaceful, and more aligned than you've ever imagined.